G'day guys, back with the Outer Circle, and I put up this video the other day, the Legion Imperialis, Legion Imperialis, because it's like half English, half Spanglish. And I was just talking about my concerns about the system, and there were a lot of comments on there, and, you know, different thoughts that I had around the system. And one common thread that sort of popped up a few times, which I've since corrected, was the price. The original prices that we came up with came from third-party stockists who have the pricing already given to them by the company. And for these certain stockists, there was some assumptions made. Because I said the Blood Angels half of the box in that White Dwarf leak, that approximately was going to be about 750 euros. And that's for the Blood Angels army half, okay? Now, we are incorrect because there was less miniatures in the boxes that we've just found out, the drop pods. Where were they? Here. These drop pods, there's only 4 to the box. We thought it was 8. And so, with those changes in mind, then it works out to be considerably more expensive, about £900. 900 euros for that. And people just can't believe that, no, Legion Imperialis can't be that expensive. And, well, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I believe it is that expensive. Everything I've seen has led me to believe this. And if you are in doubt about this price, well, first thing about that. I said that was the cost for the Blood Angels half. That does not mean that that is the entry price for 3,000 points in this game system. It could be as cheap as you buying 2 starter sets at what they cost. But let's be realistic here. What do people want to have in their force? That is what people are going to want to buy. They do not need the artificial paywall of, well, this is in this expansion set, and this is bought over here, and this, well, if you want to buy it, you've got to buy it. You know, if you want to buy Leviathans, you've got to buy the Derrideos, the Tarantulas, and the Rapiers, and whatever else. They all come in that special box. You've got to buy all of that, and even if you're not using it, you've got to buy that whole thing, okay? And people are going to have to do that, and on top of that, they're going to want to have the toys that they really want. If they want to run Land Raiders or Spartans or a Thunderhawk, whatever it might be, that does not come in the basic box. And therefore, you have to be realistic about this. I think the Blood Angels army is realistic to the sort of army that people want to buy. They want to purchase. And because of that, that to me is the price point that you actually have to use when you're working out what this is going to cost. Not what is the bare minimum cheapest way of getting into the hobby, because it's not realistic to how people will build, paint, and play their hobby. Especially if it's the starter set and you're not interested in, say, Solar Auxilia, or you're not interested in the Marines, or the sort of elephant in the room, which is, what if you're not interested in the time setting? Because I think, personally, Aeronautica was leaning into, hey, there's Xenos. You kind of should have done the same thing with Epic. Epic should have the Eldar, the Orcs, you know, Nids, all these factions that work on the grand scale. Why can't you have them in Epic scale? You used to. But of course that means having to support a larger product range, a bigger production, and that's not what they want. What they want is a neat little condensed, this is the Horus Heresy game system, because then we only have to do Marine, Auxilia, and maybe some Mechanicum sculpts, and that is it, okay? So, now you can go into here and you look at the prices of things. So, I looked at, say, here's your Legion characters, right? They're all 55 Australian dollars each. If I then go over onto, say, Forge World characters, single character, $60, 50 odd bucks for some small ones. So comparable prices, I think, with the plastics in many situations. If you then go and look at some of the Aeronautica stuff over at Forge World, yeah, this is comparable with what it cost in plastic. You know, 85 for this Custodian gunship, or here's some defensive turrets, you know, like the Tarantulas, okay? 57 for just a couple of these little weapon emplacements and a bastion. So what is going to happen, I ask you, when you have a game which uses Aeronautica miniatures? What do you think the prices are going to be? If you think that a Spartan tank, the size of this bunker, is going to be considerably cheaper than that bunker, do you think that is realistic? I think not. Now, I don't want this to be all, salt, but it's not sugar, spice, and everything nice either. Look at the old Aeronautica prices, okay, and what you got. You wanted a couple of Xiphons in a squadron, $59 through a third-party retailer. $68 for a couple of Avengers, another $60 for some Barracudas, $70 for a pair of Phoenixes, right? These are the sort of prices that they were charging for that game system, and I think Epic will be cheaper, incrementally cheaper, because there's been price rises since these miniatures came out, but it'll be cheaper because you don't have to pay for the flight stems and stuff for the regular models on the ground, but you still got these models. And Games Workshop is not known for being cheap with their kits. We can look at the cost of individual weapons for Titans. Many of these individual weapons. Take the Warlord Titan paired Vulcan Mega Bolters. In this kit, and I know because I have it, you get the Mega Bolter is a one piece, then the bracket that it mounts into is another piece, and then there's a couple of little hydraulic gimbals at the back, okay? So it's about 8 parts, $49. These are small, because they're Vulcan Mega Bolters. That's about the size of a Kratos tank. So if you get 2 of these for $49, what do you think it's going to cost to get 4 Kratos? It's probably going to be more than $49. It might not be as expensive, because it's not in resin, it'll be in plastic, but many Forge World and Games Workshop parts are very comparable in price now. Plastic injection molding it's cheaper for volume production, but it is much more expensive in the initial setup costs because injection molds cost a lot more and the machinery to make them costs a lot more. Resin is a more expensive medium. It has higher labor costs because there is more person time involved or person hours in the labor. But either way, it's sort of a wash until you get high volume production of plastic. Then plastic takes the lead. But in the early stages, resin is the cheaper medium if there's limited production quantities. So think about that. Think about the prices of this stuff. And when it comes back to here and you say, there's no way it could cost that. Yeah, it could cost that. And speaking of another claim I made, it was confirmed in White Dwarf. I was correct in my claim that the jet bikes and outriders and all that, they are part of the first expansion book to the game system. They're not a core part of the rules of the game. So you're going to buy the game and you already know that all of these kits you are being shown are not going to be supported on day one. You have to buy a separate additional book already for the game system. It'll be 5 minutes old and already superseded in some areas. So, these are death knells, I think, to the game system. I don't see it being supported for multiple years on end with constant releases and such. I just don't see it. If we as a community get rules for it and we like the rules and we just 3D print our stuff, I think that's probably the best outcome for us. But realistically, I think it's going to be one of those pumped and dumped. It's going to come out, there'll be that impulse purchasing first wave, and then, alright, that's it, I'm done, can't be stuffed with this, what's the next hotness? Oh, the old world, I'm going to get me some Bretonnians. I think that's the most realistic situation we'll find ourselves in. And I also think that we're getting this huge wave of releases now, and I think that's it. That's sort of all the releases they have planned in the near future is just being all thrown out now because the delay to the system meant that the miniatures that would have been the sort of second wave, the jet bikes, the outriders, the land speeders, that second wave is dropping now because the game got delayed so much. The two waves have merged together. And that's why we have this horrible faux pas of, hey, here comes the system. By the way, here's the first expansion to the system at the same time. So that's my belief. I could be totally wrong here, but I think that's the situation. And yeah, you look at these miniatures and just think to yourself, how much are you willing to spend? Because I'm pretty damn certain that this is going to be an incredibly expensive game system to build the sort of armies that people want to build and play. And many people also mentioned in the comments, agreeing with the point I made, that yeah, it does grow very old very quickly assembling tiny miniatures. It's one thing to build and paint a Titan. Okay, you play Titanicus and you go, I want to build and paint this awesome looking Warlord Titan. Yeah, cool. You're happy to assemble, 100 parts and have all the different panels laid out and painted separately and paint all the little hydraulic cables and stuff like that. Awesome. You're happy to do that for one Titan. You're probably happy to do that for a Titan maniple, 10 or 12 of them. But what happens when you end up with 50 tanks, where every single exhaust, every single main gun, every single hatch on top of the turret, every crew weapon, every mount for the weapon on the side, when every one of those is a separate part, how long do you think people are going to want to put these together for? And in fact, if I look in other windows that I've got open here, you look at these vehicles, okay? You've got crewmen with open hatches at the top of some of these Predators. You've obviously got the different Dreadnought arms and poses and loadouts and what have you, but most of that's controlled by the, what's on the sprues. But look at the sprues, okay? So, should be in here somewhere, I hope. Oh, geez. Make a liar of me. And whose bright idea was this flying stem? That is just asking to be broken. Awful flying stand, but have a look at this. That is the sprues. Look at the number of components to the tanks here. The Sicarans. Top plate, bottom plate, side hull parts, all the different little hatches. And do you not think this is going to grow very, very old very, very quickly for people? Again, Epic is a game where you remove vehicles by the fistful. You need a dustpan and brush to sweep up the infantry. That's how heavy the action gets in traditional Epic games, okay? Like, it is not uncommon to lose squadrons of tanks to a single wave of shooting from another squadron of heavier vehicles. It does happen. So you're going to need more than half a dozen tanks to play a decent game. You're going to need 20 tanks plus in a decent game. And my fear is if people find something too tedious, they'll just leave it. They'll just get out of it. So, to touch on all of these little points that were raised in that original video that I did on Epic, like I've got my concerns, this is why, just to provide some additional context to it. The system looks like it is just going to be a pain in the butt when it comes to implementing it on the player level, like building it all, painting it all, and then assembling it all. And somehow, the way that the infantry have that little sprue joining the feet together, that looks awful on the bases. So everyone's going to want to get rid of that. And the old school Epic had a similar thing, but it was a round disc on each base, and it's slotted into the base itself, so that the model sat flush with the base. And then once you put paint and flock on there, then they fitted really nicely. This edition, I don't know. I just think it's going to be very tedious, and I don't know what the business case is for this game, because it's going to be expensive. And if it's a great game, hey, awesome, I'm on board for a great game that's fun to play and, all that jazz. But unfortunately, my concern here is that as good as the game will be, it's going to be let down by the fact that it's just financially not sustainable for the community. And in these times of, growing inflation, growing uncertainty in the world, increased cost of living, cost of living has skyrocketed for everyone. Fuel prices have doubled in the last year and upwards. And man, this is the least of our problems, is this game, right? So I'm just very concerned about the health of it. And I think everyone should be. Like, don't just say, oh, this channel's just negative. And you can call me that. It doesn't fix this problem. And if you can't see this problem occurring, then I can't help you. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. Leave your thoughts and comments below, and I'll see you on the next video.